Welcome back to round one, where we play just the beginning of a game to give you a taste of what it's like. And today, Emily and I are going to be playing through Rats of Wistar. This is the latest from Cranio Creations. And Danilo Sabia and Simone Luciani, you're probably familiar with those names. But this is their next game, and this is a worker placement game.
Yes.
But it's got some twists for sure. The worker placement in and of itself has a unique aspect where you're powering that worker placement with some other workers, if you will.
Yes.
And then there's this whole exploration side of the board where you're exploring this house. And that doesn't even begin to tap into, I think, what most people will gravitate towards is collecting these cards and building this giant tableau of cards that do ongoing powers, end of game scoring, one-time effects, all the things you'd expect. And finally, you've got this player board that kind of represents your colony.
Yes.
By the way, thematically, remind me what's going on here?
We are the rats who have escaped from Wistar. So each of us leads a colony of rats. And what we're doing is we're trying to explore in the house, collect some cheese, recruit some friendly rats to our colony, make room for them. And we're also, the really cool part is we're creating these like machineries.
Yeah, we're genius rats for sure.
It's very cool. So we've been like experimented on, but now we're super smart and we're creating these like robotic animals and like gear for ourselves in different rooms. Very cool.
Yeah, if you like tableau builders that have big decks of cards where all the cards are different, this has got that.
Yeah.
Just looking through all these cards and seeing not only the thematic differences, but I mean, they're all quite different. Like
Yes.
I haven't even seen too many where it's like, oh, well, there's about 5 of these that are similar. They all feel quite a bit different. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. And in our turn, it's going to be played over 5 phases or 5 rounds, which are the days. And each of those, we're going to have 3 chief rats that we're going to be putting out in this worker placement spot right here. This is a wheel that's going to turn. And we're going to place in some of these spots within these sectors, taking potentially the bonus actions that are right next to the spot and the main action associated with that sector. And you can take those in any order you want.
Yep.
You don't even have to take all of them. If you start one, you have to finish it before you do the main action if you started the bonuses. But you can do what you can pay for, basically. So it's somewhat flexible. But that's where the flexibility ends because it's a very, very tight game.
Yes, it's 2 things. One is that I can't go into the same sector that I've been in the same round. So if I go to this spot, I can't go to the next spot. That's David's now or no one's. 2, when I take the main action, I'm only going to take it to the power of which I have helping rats around it. So if I have these 2 here, I can take it to a power of 2. If I have nothing there, I'm taking it to a power of 0.
Which is nothing.
I'm not taking that action.
At least the main action. You can still take the bonus actions, but the main actions are where it's at because the main actions we're going to be doing is to collect some of these cards and make some inventions. We're going to be using some to explore this house, which lets us move around, open doors, discover effectively missions to accomplish.
Yes.
And then there's some that's collecting metal, collecting wood, digging out more space in our colony, and then supplying beds from one side of the colony over to the other. And when you supply those beds, it's going to give you more worker mice that can then go out here and power those actions. So you can see how it's all combined. Lastly, across the bottom of our player board, there are these little cubes attached to all of these either one-time effects or ongoing powers, more of those sorts of things. These cubes are removed whenever we accomplish parts of the missions that are out here in this house. First, we have to discover what those missions are.
Yep.
Then we're going to see that, oh, that mission requires maybe some of these resources and some of these other icons that we've collected on our cards and whatever in our tableau to achieve removing these cubes and then thereby giving us this power. And that's kind of a big deal. It can be in this game. You definitely want to get at least a couple of these out there so you can get kind of an engine going.
Well, and some of them are pretty big. Some of them have like a special character that you're going to get.
Yeah.
That'll give you more of those icons and a new way to score points at the end. So some of them are pretty big deals, but you probably won't get them till later in the game once you've uncovered the mission, then done the mission, and then been able to take your cube off to do it.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing we haven't mentioned are there's some guest rats out there. There's some guest rats here in the house, face down. We don't know who they are. We're just trying to rescue rats. We don't care who you are. Join our colony. And then we've got some over here that are attached to a particular action on the wheel right here. If you take that action, you just simply get this guest rat. You have to have space for it in your colony, so you have to dig out those holes. You can't have a bed in there. It's either a bed or a rat.
Yes.
But But it's going to be interesting because you want to dig out these holes to score some points. You want to get rid of your beds so you can score some points. There's points all over the place in this game.
There really are. So the guests have points, the missions can have points, but the guests also can have ongoing or one-time abilities. So like this one for this round says that every time we take the inventions action, we're going to get an extra point to spend there.
Yeah, which is huge. You could do that without any worker rats there and still have at least one to get one of these invention cards in your hand. So I think with that, we did some setup before things got started, where we drafted a set of cards, one basic invention and one advanced. We determined that I was going to be the first player.
We did.
So I will kick things off. In the first round, you skip sort of the cleanup phase, which happens at the beginning of every other round. This is where you're collecting all your workers back, changing the player order. There may be some one-time cards that you need to sort of like untap or take a token off of to say that you can use it again, that sort of thing.
You might have cards that have income,
Yes.
and then we're also going to, every time we're going to move the board 60 degrees, right? So the sectors will keep changing slightly, but we can plan for it. We know where they're about to go.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing we didn't mention. There are these achievement cards down here. These are random. There's a small deck of them, but probably, I don't know, somewhere over 10 of them. So you bring up 3 of these randomly, and these are various things that you're going to be collecting. They could be types of cards. They could be the number of beds that you've moved over. This is one of those icons that I was talking about. On your turn is a free action, and there are a number of free actions, but one of them is to achieve one of those if you did. And in this game, we'll be able to achieve one of each of those per player. All right, so I have my 2 cards in hand, which is really the only guiding light that we have at the beginning of the game, other than kind of generally what we want to try to do. But generally what I want to try to do is I want to try to dig out my colony, move some beds over because I want to get a bunch of these rats over. I do have a card that I want to get played too, but this is going to take a couple steps. So we all start with a couple rats ready to go out on the board. They're at the top of our player board. I'm going to put them out there so I can power up this action first. So I'm going to put them in this section.
Ooh.
Now, as you can see, that fuels both this section and this section right now. It's in
so you're going to try to get wood or try to dig?
I am going to get some wood.
Oh.
So I am going to take one of my chiefs and put them right there.
Nice.
I'm going to get 2 wood because I have 2 rats there.
Yep.
This is very
That's
helpful.
your main action.
And then I'm going to take my bonus action, which gets me another wood.
Yep.
And lets me move one of them. I'm going to move one down here in this area, Emily.
I wonder where you're going
Not
next.
necessarily here or here. I'm just going to be down there.
But one of them does require wood to do when you're...
Maybe.
Wow, I wonder where that could be.
This is one of the interesting things about the game because as you can see, there's 3 sections where you place your worker rats and they help fuel those 2 sectors on the wheel. So when you move your rats, you are giving a little bit of a tell to all the players at the table. He's clearly going to go there next.
Yes. I think I'm going to do something a little different. I'm thinking more in this game, I want to explore. Last game we played,
You didn't do much of that
I didn't do
last
much
time.
exploring at all. And it seemed fun. It seemed like a cool thing to do. So I'm going to just start us off with some extra exploration. But I want to play my cards too. So I'm going to first do the main action here. But as a bonus action,
Get your 2 rats out there
get
to
my
help.
2 rats out
They
there.
do the heavy lifting.
They do. So I get to have 2 points, which means I can spend 2 points on cards. The advanced cards are going to cost 2. The lower cards are going to just cost 1. So I get 2 of the lower or 1 of the upper. And I have very little to begin with.
I got to tell you right now, whenever Emily goes straight for cards, it tells me one thing. I haven't looked at the cards. And she has looked at the cards because she's like, oh, I'm going to the cards if you're not because there's a card there that we both will want.
Well, I don't think you'll want it. But this card, this wooden crow, every time I get income would give me another card. And that goes particularly well with one of the cards I took during setup, which you already saw is the universal screwdriver. And if I get that played once per round, I'm going to get to play a card.
Yeah, which is otherwise an action that you'd have to take out on the wheel.
So if I get both of these out, then I'll be able to do like, I'll get a
yeah.
card, I'll play a card, all just from my cards.
Already with the engine building.
And then I'll take one more thing too. I will take...
You can also take from the top of the deck, which we have off camera. In fact, I'll show you right now. The deck is substantial.
It is. It is. I think I'm just going to take the Mechanical Falcon to try to get some points, and she has some of those eyes at the bottom. And eyes are one of the things that we're going for
Look
this
at
game.
you with strategy.
That's me.
That's not me. What we got here replacing it? A time bomb. Oh, which gives you a door. Interesting. And
an archive.
Yeah, we'll have to look. That looks like you can get a card out of the discard pile.
Yeah, nice.
There's a lot of iconography in
so
here.
much.
I'm gonna tell you right now, we don't have it all up here.
No.
We'll have to look.
But it
some
does
up.
have an appendix, and it has a lot of the iconography.
Yeah, yeah. The rulebook has
we use
an
it
appendix for
extensively.
sure.
So that's my main action, and then for my bonus action, it works perfectly because bonus action is that I get to play a card and I get to explore. So I start with 2 wood and 2 steel. I got to find something that is not as expensive. I'm going to play with the universal screwdriver. It's going to cost me 1 steel. And that's the one I was talking about where now once per turn, per round, I can play a card.
Yeah.
So I can play one of the other ones I got. Plus, I get to do an explore action.
Oh.
So when I explore, I'm going to get to do something over here in the house. There are multiple things that I can do, but right now we're starting in the doorway, and there's no open doors.
Yeah.
So my options are a little bit limited. I'm going to open a door. And I'm going to go to the top one, actually. So I want to see what that is. What did I get? 1 wood.
1 wood. So you get a bonus wood.
That is great for me because I will need that.
And she takes that door because there may be things that score for doors or something like that. But mainly, that door is open now. So on the next explore point or action that you would take, you could just enter this room. And then there's a number of other things you can do with those explore points. You can flip over these mission cards. You can pick up one of these rats, or you can open up another door. The idea is to
explore the house.
Explore the house.
And as you see, the house is split into basically like the top part and the bottom part. The bottom part is a little bit juicier of rats and of missions that are going on. But the end is that if you can get all the way to the end, you can also pick up this cheese.
6 points.
6 points.
And
but you have to have room for it.
Yeah, and yes, you do have to have room for it. But 6 points is not nothing. I think when we've played this game, did we break 100? And I think we were down in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I have played a game with Ryan and Nelson. They scored over 100. But yeah, I think it's within the realm of possibility. So 6 points. 6
Pretty
points.
good. Yeah.
Done?
Done.
All right. Now I will do another thing. I am going to go right here. Now this is important. I am going to play a card first. I'm going to do the bonus action first.
Okay.
And I'm going to play this pickaxe for 1 wood and 1 steel.
Oh, nice. What does that let you do?
The pickaxe is an ongoing ability that says whenever I take the dig action, which is digging out the colony, I can spend 1 less steel to do so. It usually costs 2 steel per dig. Now, this isn't 1 less steel for each time, but every time I take that whole action, you can do as many digs as you have workers over there, and I just get a total discount of 1 steel. But still,
1 steel off.
Discount is a discount is a discount. So I will take that.
That's really good to get at the beginning of the game because you haven't even done any dig yet.
Yeah. That later in the game, if you have 2 digs left, you get that card, and you're like, eh.
I think we played ones too where you got it at like the very end, and so it's a little helpful, but not as helpful.
And there are other ways to get discounts if you can complete some missions to discount your digging and your bed moving.
But as we said, missions are a little bit more involved to try to get to.
For sure, they are a little bit more involved. So I played the card, and now I am going to move 2 mice.
So you've got 1 mouse, and I assume
move just that mouse.
You want to move him over here with his buddy?
I think I want him there with his buddy. Because now I'm going to take the main action, which is building beds. And the beds cost 2 wood.
Yep.
And I collected all that wood last time. And I just spent 1 of them. So I'm going to get rid of 4 wood to do that 2 times because I have these 2 worker rats there. And I'm going to simply take these 2 worker rats off their beds and move these beds over into these holes. Now,
you're getting full up.
I am getting full up. I have 2 more rats to come out, though,
That's true.
which is really nice because imagine this. If I take sort of this next action, I could bring these 2 guys out there and take it to a power level of 4, which is really nice. However, I only have 1 more space here, so I'm gonna have to start digging out because I don't have much room to move more beds over.
And to dig, though, you're gonna need some more steel. So
I
feel like, so a part of this game, too, is kind of intuiting where like your opponents are gonna go. Do you wanna kind of try to hate draft where they're gonna take their space? But as much as I think I probably should stop you from taking that, I also really want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually going to do my own thing and move over here. Because
More exploring.
More exploring. I really want to explore, and there's only one action spot on the explore sector this time, so I really want to take it, because if I don't, you're going to take it from me. So I get, my 2 guys are still there in that same area, which is perfect for me, so I'm going to have 2 explore points. So what I'm going to do this time is, because I took that door off, I'm going to go up to the main room, but I'm going to do it with blue, actually.
Oh, you're not going to move me?
I'm not going to move you. No. I'm going to do it with my own rat.
I wish I'd meant to do that.
And then I want to flip over the mission card. I want to see what we're playing for.
All right, the mission card is, let's take a look at this. It is watch out for the bird.
Ooh.
So these are all very, rat-oriented missions. There's going to be cats, and this is a chicken. Watch out for the bird. It's got 3 steps to it. But you can do any of them. So there's 3 effectively different missions. Now, some missions on these cards will have a little locks on them, which means to do the second step, someone has to have done the first step or something like that. This one, anyone who's in this room could do any one of these 3 by having some of these icons on their cards, maybe some resources, and then they're going to get this bonus.
Ooh.
But most importantly, they're going to be able to take one of those cubes up and put it on the mission. And by flipping it, you get
2 steel.
2 steel.
Yay! This is how I'm getting all my resources.
Pretty nice. The exploration is pretty good, because obviously you want to explore to get around there and get some missions going. And if you're the one doing it,
you get a bunch of stuff.
You're just collecting stuff.
Exactly.
Just like you would be going over the wheel.
It is, again, though, one of those things, again, that tension comes in. If I'm doing a ton of it, you probably don't want to let me run away with it.
No, 100% we don't. Ryan ran away with it when we played with him, and it was crazy.
If you're all doing it equally, it's kind of, it's just a little nominal thing. If I'm doing all of it, then I'm going to get some juicy rewards by taking each of them.
For sure.
And then my bonus action is that I can either do a mission, which unfortunately I have no tags yet, so I don't think that's going to be possible right now. Or I can move my 2 guys to a different space, which is perfect, because now that I've taken these 2 sectors, I don't need to do anything in this area for this round. I want to do something in one of the other areas. And like I said, I think David's going to go there. Oh, but I do have a bunch of resources now, so I could probably also build some beds. I'm going to come down where you're at, David, and
I have to
threaten that area.
After having played the game a couple times, getting more rats out on the board
is very nice.
It should be a little bit of a priority, at least at some point. You don't want to not do that until like the 3rd round for sure, because if you're just playing with 2 worker rats out there, it's going to get rough, and you're bound to take an action at a power of 0, where you're just taking the bonus action.
And you've seen us moving these rats around, and so there are ways to do that, but if you somehow get stuck where you're like, oh, but I really wanted to dig, and that's not going to let me move anyone, you're trying to finagle things in a really tight fashion.
Yeah. And the last thing we haven't mentioned at all, but you've seen on the board where we can move rats, but we also started with a token that let us move 1 rat. You can get more of those tokens by taking the alchemist action, which isn't on the wheel, and it does feel in some ways like a throwaway action, but I'll tell you, it is not a throwaway action. If you go up there, if you're the first one up there, you're going to be first in the player order for the next round, which is not insignificant. And you're also going to take one of these alchemist actions, which is a number of different things. It could be a resource. You're also going to get one of those mouse tokens. You could complete a mission, or you could play a card.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on over there. It's not a bad option.
And that's huge, because as we get, right now, we're not really completing missions because we don't have enough stuff yet. But as we get later into the game, completing missions is something that you have to do from one of the bonuses or from the alchemist.
Yeah.
There's not like a natural way to do it otherwise. So you might be going to the alchemist just because you're like, I want to complete missions. Like, I'm here, I want to do it. And that's really one of the main ways to do it. And like you said, it determines turn order. So I might go there too, just to make sure I get closer in the top of the turn order.
Yeah, you're going to want to see how that wheel turns, or how it's about to turn, and go, oh, I want first in turn order, because I'm jumping on that giant wood spot while I can get like 4 wood or something like that. Is it back to me?
It is.
All right, this is my last chief rat. I haven't really even thought about what I wanted to do, but
Really? Because you have 2... Oh, you have 2 more rats you can put on the board. So you have a little bit of flexibility.
I do have some flexibility. I
don't have as much flexibility.
I could do some digging, but I don't have what I need to do the digging.
Not quite yet.
So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go here, but before I do, I am going to go ahead and just take a big, juicy action.
Oh my gosh.
With 4 worker rats. So I'm going to go ahead and take the main action first, which is just collecting steel. I'm going to collect 4 of those, so now I have 5, which is not bad.
It's interesting because you didn't have to put your rats out, right? That's always a bonus action you can do before or after. And the reason he might not want to is because now you have all your rats on the board in the 4 spaces, but you have nothing in the other 2. So you're going to have to find a way to move them in order to be able to take the other actions. But like you said, now you got 4 steel, so you probably don't need steel for a while.
Exactly. 4 steel is going to help a little bit, as long as I can get what I want on my next action.
Yeah.
So I took the main action. Now I am going to actually take one of those alchemist actions. Now, I'm not going up there, so I'm not changing the player order or securing player order, but I am getting one of these actions. It's to add something to a mission, which I wish I could do right now.
I think you have one of the pink icons.
I do have one of the pink icons on my
it.
pickaxe, but not a second. There are ways to collect wild ones of those, so you have to spend, and that can be very helpful too to get some of those missions accomplished.
Yeah, you actually could even at this point, but I think it'd be very expensive. So we have free actions, right, where we can get rid of 3 resources, wood, steel, or your cards, and you could get a wild token. So he could use that as his second pink to do the pink mission, but that would take up a lot of that steel you just got, and I don't know if you want to use it for something else.
I gotta tell you though, I kind of...
Oh no, I've tempted him.
I kind of like it.
You could do it.
I think I'm going to go crazy and do that. So I'm going to take one of those free actions, and that's how we play here, by the way. We help each other.
Oh, you can't do it though yet.
What?
Because you haven't explored. Look where I'm in that room, but you're not in the room yet.
That's right.
So the other thing about exploring is that you can only do missions from where you're at. However, we both have 2 tents that we can put down once we're in a room. So I can put a tent down in this room and then keep exploring the rest of the house, and then I can keep doing missions there. David has not explored yet. I took all the explorers,
not going to happen.
So he can't do any missions
So I'm
yet.
going to just take this alchemist action, and I think I'm not going to play a card. I can't accomplish a mission, so it looks like I'm just taking another resource. I've got plenty of steel.
Yes, you do.
So I'm going to take another wood.
Nice. All right, and then now I have one place I can go because you took that potion. But I like this spot because I do have enough to do the bed action, but I just have enough wood to do it once. So I will recruit 1 new guest.
Not bad, not bad.
And then I also get the guest rat from this round. So that's what this special one is. So he's going to come right on into my thing, and he's going to make it easier for me to take cards in the future when I get
And not to mention, it's 2 points.
Not to mention it's 2 points. Yep. Very excited for him.
So,
but I also have my one time around thing that I can do.
Boy.
Yeah, don't let me forget that, David. So I want to play this card, but it costs energy, and I don't think I have enough to create an energy. I need 4 for it. Let's see.
You're talking about the electricity token?
Yeah, the electricity token.
There's an electricity token that neither of us start with, but there's ways to get it. Again, it's another one of those free actions. You can trade any 4 resources to get the electricity token and then do it again to upgrade it. There may be some other ways, some other cards that do that as well, but a lot of cards require you to have either basic or advanced electricity.
I think I'm just going to do it because I need it at some point. And my bad thing is that whenever you have multi-purpose cards, I always hold on to them because I'm like, no, I wanted to use it. But I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do one of my free actions. I'm going to get rid of 2 steel and 2 cards, even though one of them was really good, to get my electricity to level 1. So now I'm all powered, baby. And the card I'm going to play for my one time is going to be the
pneumatic
Citronic screwdriver.
Oh, positronic.
Positronic
screwdriver. These are very advanced rats, by the way, everybody.
Yes. And so he's going to cost 1 steel, 1 wood, and I have that electricity.
Oh, man.
Now, he's not only 3 points, but ongoing, whenever I play cards, I get a discount of either 1 steel or 1 wood.
Oof.
Love that combo. So once per round.
You spent a lot for that.
I did spend a lot. I don't have any more cards.
I think it'll be worthwhile. Plus, she has a green icon at the bottom, so...
And a battery.
She's 1 step closer to getting this one, which lets you play a card, by the way.
Ooh.
And a battery. And the batteries can come into play. There are certain cards that might require batteries. Sometimes there's achievements that do, although none of these do. But that was the first round of 5 of Rats of Wistar. We're going to play the entire game, and then we'll come back either at the end or just before the end to sort of let you know how the full experience happened, or to give you a little flavor of what things look like in the 5th round. And we are back, and we have completed the whole game, all 5 rounds or days of the week in this game. And it didn't nearly took us 5 days.
No, it didn't take that long.
No, it didn't take too long. It went along pretty quickly. We did think about our turns very thoroughly.
We did, yeah.
There were times where it was tight, like you'd expect. And man, this game, this is one of the tighter games this year.
Very tight. It's very tight. And we're just playing at it too. Like with a higher player count, it's even tighter in a way because there's more spaces, but there's more people that you can't account for. Like at least sometimes when I was playing with you, I was like, I have an idea of where he's going to go. It's probably there or there. And so as long as I don't try to get in his way, maybe I'll be safe. But there were some times where David looked over and said, Emily, you're not going to like what I'm about to do.
100%. And there were times where I felt like, you know what? Stopping her from the windfall action that she's about to take might be better than taking the little action I was going to take. You know, because you can have some small turns in this game for sure.
Yeah.
And you can have some big turns. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. So we didn't say this. Emily won.
Does it matter?
We did. It doesn't matter. It matters a little bit. No, we played this before, and we both scored. I think you scored 77 to 68.
Yeah, it was
the score.
last time.
She won 77-68. We both improved.
Yes.
Emily improved more. I scored 74 this time. Emily scored 95. And from what we were told by the designer, somewhere in the 110 plus range is a good score. And I was told,
we're getting there.
I don't know if he was being nice to me when I asked, but I was told, that's good for your first game, down in the 60s. Now, if 68 was good for my first game, I'm guessing 74 would not qualify as good for my second.
You just need a lot more
or
plays.
Third game,
it's
really.
Fine.
Yeah, I just need more plays. The good news is what I set out to do, I did. I wanted to clear all of my colony. I wanted to get all my beds over there. I did that and then some. I even opened up this extra space for one of the guest mice. You'll notice I have a hole in the middle because Emily, I don't know how many, there's some nasty cards in the game. They're not a ton.
Not a ton.
And they don't look crazy nasty at face value. But I'll tell you, when they happen to you, they feel nasty. I think 3 different times.
I had 4 of them, actually.
4 different times. And all of these cards are effectively cards that say if an opponent has more X than you, and it could be more beds or more guest mice or rats
or more wood, steel,
then they lose one of those things. Now, wood and steel,
it's fine.
I'll lose one wood and steel. Losing one of your guest rats could be devastating. Thankfully, the one she took away
was 0 points.
0 points, so it didn't really affect me. It didn't have any ongoing ability. I already used it to.
If I had done it earlier too, it could have been good for you. You would have had an extra space to put somebody.
Yeah, you were just trying to help me.
I was just trying to help. That's all I do here.
But there are some nasty cards in there, but I was able to do what I did. I did get some points out of that. I got 16 points from moving all my beds. Not to mention, look at this. I have an insane amount of rats out here helping me.
So many rats.
Now, I don't know how much they helped me. She had a total of
3 rats.
3 the whole game.
Lean colony.
It was a lean colony. These are some heavy lifters out here,
yep,
these rats.
They were moving their butts around.
And she got the job done with those 3 rats.
Did.
Now, I didn't have to start. I had to basically didn't have to worry about it after a while. I had 3 here, 3 there, 2 down here. So I really didn't have to worry about moving them.
And the hard thing is, too, what I was just talking about, where I can predict where you're going. Once you had that many on the board, I really couldn't.
That's true.
Because I was like, I mean, he can do anything he wants now because he has rats wherever you want to go. But you had some pretty big turns where you were able to chain stuff together.
I did have one big turn. That's what I want to tell you about. One of the biggest turns I had not done any missions here. And in fact, Emily had explored most of the house, and I was still sitting outside for a good portion of the game. Then I think maybe the 3rd of 5 rounds, I ran here at the end of that round.
Used all your extra rats. You did all your explore points.
That's all I did is I just move. I didn't even do anything else. I didn't flip a door. I didn't flip one of the
Straight
rats.
through.
I just ran there because I wanted to set something up and do this mission right here on the following round, I think.
But while you do that too, you did place your tents down,
yes.
which was helpful.
Did place the tents here and here so that I could still do some of those missions on my next turn, because at the beginning of the next turn, I placed somewhere where I could do a mission.
Yes.
And this was, I think, in round 4, I want to say.
Yeah, it was pretty late in the game.
Or maybe round 5, I'm not sure. But I did this mission down here, and this allowed me to remove one of my cubes from the bottom that let me play a card. That card was the radar tower, which I had from the very beginning of the game.
That's so funny.
It needed electricity, which I never had, but this allowed me to play it for free. I played this for free, which let me do another mission with one less thing that I needed. So I went up and did this one and got that one. That let me do an alchemist action, which let me do another mission.
It was crazy.
Which I did this, so I did another mission, which gave me a guest rat. This one gave me a guest rat, so I filled up with 2 guest rats. It was pretty wild. It did take me a minute.
It did.
To get through
that
that
one
turn.
was one to think through. But it also, in that, getting rid of those cubes on your board was great because not only were they points, but it got you that extra spot too.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, after you had dug out everything. So you didn't have spots left anymore.
Yeah, I had run out of space. And that is one thing I will say. I do think this is a game of pacing. It gives you some things to do.
Yeah.
And it didn't behoove me to empty out my colony and fill it with beds right away for a variety of reasons, one of which is it effectively takes potential actions away from you. You don't need to do them early. It's nice to get it done, but it's not going to result in, I think, a good, the best score, if you will. You want to kind of string it out and pace yourselves to really maximize things, because at the end of the game, if I don't have to dig, Emily knows that. I don't have to go to the dig space. She knows I'm not going to the dig space, so she can just wait and do the dig last, probably.
And it's really if you maximize everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, which you did. You did all of it as much as you could. I kind of went the opposite route where I explored a lot, like you were saying, and I had that engine from the very beginning that you guys saw in the first round, where I had that screwdriver, the 2 screwdrivers that work together, where once per round...
Both are screwdrivers?
They're both screwdrivers. There's a universal and positronic screwdriver, and together, one of them once per round lets me play a card, and the other one, when I play a card, does it for a discount of either 1 steel or 1 wood.
And she got so many cards that were just, the cost was like
So
1
many
wood.
cards.
So those were effectively free.
And then I had cards where it was like the portable computer, where it then lets me play another card for free.
And that was not the only one like that.
No,
right?
I had multiple like that. And then, so really all it did is it built up to the end where I played something, the Architect's Studio, which allowed me to get a card and a victory point for all of the house ones that I had gotten, which was like 8 at the time.
8 more cards in her hand.
Plus, I had the game library, which very appropriately is every time you get a victory point, any amount of victory points, you get an extra victory point. So I got 9 victory points for that. It was a huge engine. And David's kind of looking at me and he's like, how are you still playing more cards every single time?
And yeah, it's the worst thing about playing a game with Emily when there's cards. I mean, how many cards do you have in your hand?
10 cards
She has
at the
10
end.
cards. I have no cards in my hand. I have 6 cards that I played to. How many did you play? 14?
Yeah, I think 14.
Some
There's a lot over
insane
here.
amount of cards. That was where she played the game. Now, my board is empty and filled with beds. She has
I had 3.
5 rats still sitting here saying, we're ready to work. I don't,
When we did that part of the scoring, it got my heart racing just a little bit, where I was getting 1 point to David's 16.
There was a brief moment where I had the lead. It was brief, but it was after we scored the player boards, and I was ahead by what, like maybe 8 or 9 or so?
Yes.
But then her cards were, what, 30 points in total? Just the face value.
35, just for the face value.
35 for the face value to my, like, I think 9 or so. But yeah.
It offers a lot you can do, right? So you can try to maximize a couple of different routes, or I think, to your point, the best route is probably just pacing a little bit of everything.
If you can pull it off. I mean, a lot of that depends on what cards you're getting.
What combos you can make.
I was jealous of her the whole game. Like, she was just getting all these cards and playing all these cards, and it was just like, I was spending all my wood and steel to clear out my space, so I wasn't really focused on that. I figured once I did that, then I'll pivot. I did a little bit. I got some of the cards played. I got some exploration done. I wish I'd gotten some of that exploration done sooner, because some of that can help you early on if you get it done.
Oh yeah, and then with one of my explorations too, I got Gwir the Scientist, which was great because of all these cards that I had a bunch of these yellow brain tags, and so the Scientist, when I got him, he gave me 1 point for each one, which at the time was 9. So again, with the additional was 10.
Yeah, there's really, I mean, the difference in score is probably a couple things you did.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah,
you
a couple big
scored those
moves, couple big
boom like
moves.
that, which is significant. But yeah, that was our experience playing Rats of Wistar. This is a crunchy game.
Yes.
Don't let the adorable rats and artwork fool you.
But I will say, when you're waiting for someone else's turn, which I did the whole, where I was just like looking at them being like, termite breeding, what is that?
Yeah.
It's very cute artwork.
The cards are awesome. If only I'd had cards in my hand throughout the game that I could look at, that would have been nice. But yeah, it is adorable on one hand, but wow, this is probably one of the crunchiest games I feel like we've played this year.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of like the heavy realm of
Yeah.
some of the other games we played, this one, there's a lot of thinking going on.
Yeah, if you look at it and you're like, oh, it's probably a lightweight game, it's not a lightweight
No,
game.
you absolutely do not look at this and go, oh, this is like first Rat. It's kind of a lighter entry level. It isn't. This is a crunchy game. So if you're looking for that, take this for a spin. The worker placement alone has a really interesting thing where you're trying to get those rats to support your workers. And the fact that the base level action is 0 and not just 1, that's significant, and it makes it really tight feeling. But if you have any questions at all about the rest of our game, I'm going to put up some pictures so you can see sort of my meager little tableau of cards compared to the cornucopia of cards over here. But if you have any questions about it, please make them in the comments below. We'll get down there, answer whatever we can. Until next time, of course, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.